Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a rare storm dumping incredible snow amounts, tornadoes, and an ice storm. So we'll break down the setup going forward. If we take a look at the overall water vapor imagery this morning, you can actually see that's upper level low that's parked over the middle of the country. That's dumping all the heavier snows to the west and the northwest side, but further to the south, it's all about the severe storms and the tornadoes that came across Texas yesterday. Now they're over portions of Louisiana and Mississippi, where they do have current tornado warnings and watches, and even a flash flood watch in place for them. But yesterday, during my live stream coverage, went on live around 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday. We had a lot of tornadoes that broke out across the DFW Metroplex. In fact, as of 4 o'clock yesterday, we had 5 confirmed tornadoes, and the update was 8. But the National Weather Service will be going out and doing more surveys today, and they think we could have at least potentially 12 tornadoes that unfolded across the DFW Metroplex between around 6 o'clock and just 11 o'clock yesterday morning. So what's happening going forward is that system just continues to push off into the east, and now they have new tornado warnings and watches in place with that another hatched risk for strong thunderstorms. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but yes, definitely deep concern of more strong tornadoes in portions of the deep south today into Louisiana, back into southern Mississippi and Alabama, and that actually continues on into the Florida panhandle, and that goes into tomorrow, has that slight risk, not as severe as what you're going to be seeing today, but we still are concerned about all 3 modes of severe storms, isolated tornado threat, some larger hail, and damaging winds that will extend into portions of Georgia and just on the coastline of South Carolina. But actually, here's the snow amounts just over the last 2 to 3 days, and we've seen an incredible amount of snow, just the beginnings of this storm that started out west, and it's pinwheeling across with this cross-country storm. But man, Deadwood, South Dakota already is checking in at 23 inches of snowfall, and it's still snowing heavily over there. So they're going to be adding to those totals. And we did have another system that came through portions of the Northeast that dumped some decent snowfall totals for them. But going forward, here's the hazard update for today, because we still have the blizzard warnings in effect for portions of Nebraska and South Dakota, then all winter storm warnings in a good chunk of the Dakotas, and that goes into Minnesota. There's also another boundary up here in northern Minnesota. They could see some blizzard-like conditions as well, with 2 to 3 feet of snow. Just incredible amounts. But that's the current tornado warnings down further south. And then there's that renewed tornado watch, and a lot of heavier rains has to put the flash flood watches in place. But man, as the warm air rises, as the cold air presses from the northwest, that transition begins as an ice storm, and this could be a damaging ice storm up here in the portions of Virginia and portions of Pennsylvania. But we've got winter weather advisories and winter storm watches in place for a good chunk of Pennsylvania. That goes into upstate New York, and very windy conditions are going to be breaking out into the state of Maine. But let's break this thing down for you, because about 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're going to be seeing a lot of storms break out, still continuing along the coastal regions into portions of Louisiana and Mississippi, getting into portions of Alabama. I do feel we're going to have a more strong tornado potential down here, so definitely be on high alert and have your weather radios handy. But it's all about the snow on the northwest side of that upper level low pressure center. And look at the darker blues. The snows could be really starting to crank into portions of northern Minnesota, getting into portions of Wisconsin. And then we have another pocket of ice that could form into portions of northern Wisconsin. But we go into the midnight time frame, so this is going to continue to move across from west to east. Now that by midnight tonight, that's going to be over portions of eastern Alabama, heading into Georgia, where they could be looking at some more severe storms for them. But once you get up into Tennessee and into the Virginia coastline areas, that's not severe. It's just more of a higher wind threat and more moderate rain. But man, look at the snow snow that's really going to be starting to crank out in a good chunk of Wisconsin, heading into northern portions of Minnesota, as we got the back end of that upper level low, and the back side of that will be swinging across. But as that warm air rises and that colder air just kind of keeps pressing in from the northwest, unfortunately, we're going to have that transition to an all ice event, and it could be a damaging ice storm that's really take shape, very treacherous, damaging travel up here and into Thursday morning in portions of Virginia, but especially into Pennsylvania. They do have that ice storm warning in place. Some of these areas could pick up a quarter, even a half inch of ice. It's very going to be treacherous travel, but we got snow coming in on the backside of this, and the heavier snow is still going to be breaking out into Minnesota, into Wisconsin there, and then we go into Friday morning, it's all snow into Pennsylvania, then all snow in upstate New York, getting into Massachusetts there, and to Vermont and New Hampshire. This will eventually extend into Maine, but where it's all rain along the coastal regions, along the I-95 corridor. And yeah, on the backside of this storm, you could see a dusting or two in the backside across the Ohio Valley, but I'm really not expecting that much snow on the backside as it winds down on Friday. So, but let's zoom into the Northeast, because man, this is the real deal, folks. I mean, it starts out as all rain, right? But then as that warm nose kicks in, then it's just a crippling, damaging type ice event that really starts to take shape. Then it goes to all sleet, and then it goes to all snow. So yeah, we got all of this happening in the next 60 hours up here into portions of, Virginia, heading up into portions of Pennsylvania. So definitely be on high alert of this significant event that's going to be unfolding. It's best to just stay off the roads in this situation, because it's very dangerous to travel on with a quarter inch to a half inch of ice. Trying to travel in that mess is just a complete nightmare. And then you put the snow on top of that. So as the things continue to move across into the Northeast, but if we break this thing down for you, just over the next 60 hours, this is renewed snow on top of the snow that's already fallen over the last 72 hours. Like I showed you, this is another more significant snow that will unfold. If you can see the graph on the right hand corner of the screen, yeah, we've got some really healthy totals, over a foot. I mean, this area right here where they do have the blizzard warning, 2 to 3 feet is not out of the question up here in this little finger up here into Minnesota. But Wisconsin could be picking up some very healthy totals, over a foot, if not 2 feet of snow. And even up here into the Northeast, they'll be adding to those totals. It's an inland event, so but still, some of these areas 6 to 12, and isolated parts 18 inches of snow is definitely not out of the question. That is just in the next 60 hours. But we do have some colder air filtering in the backside. The real Arctic air is not going to be in the pattern yet, but the transition to a much colder look is happening. It's a step down process. So these are Sunday afternoon high temperatures. Up here into British Columbia, that's a 12 below zero high temperature. That's some cold stuff that's going to be coming in from Canada. But you can see all the areas in blue and high temperatures, folks, all below freezing. But now that colder air filters all the way down into the south, where Oklahoma's checking into the 40s, and a good chunk of Texas, Houston high is 46. So you can definitely tell that's a lot colder, right? And even along the southeast, where you're dealing with the tornadoes today, by Saturday afternoon, it's in the 40s. That's going to be some chilly stuff on the backside. The only escape then is going to be Florida, where they're still hanging on to those warmer than average conditions. But if you take a look at the northern hemisphere snowpack, this is pretty healthy for this time of year. And the next system that really starting to build up into Siberia really has to go over this snowpack. And look how far south it filters into the lower 48. And this is the renewed snowpack going forward between now and Sunday. So you can definitely see a very healthy dosing of a renewed dose of snow going to be blanketing our northern interior states with that renewed Arctic surge that's going to be coming in for Christmas week. So here's the breakdown from the Climate Prediction Center as we get kind of colder and colder. So going from, the 19th time frame to the 23rd time frame, high confidence of very cold air has to go over that snowpack, right? That's going to keep it colder much further south. So all these areas are going to be well below average for that period of time as the trend gets kind of colder and colder. So if we look at the overall Ensemble member guidance on the European. So we'll break down all the ensembles here between the 20th and the 25th. So everybody wants to know what's happening for Christmas week. It's going to be cold, guys. It's going to be real cold. When you have an anomaly right here showing over 20, if not 30 degrees below average temperatures on an ensemble over a 5-day period, that's extreme stuff, guys. That's very cold weather, and that just filters all the way down into the deep south, into the Northeast, and then Florida. There's no escaping for you. Then you're going to get entrenched in the colder air by the time Christmas week rolls around. And that's not just the European. Even the GFS is saying basically the same exact thing. We could have a P&A that does try to go neutral. So we could have somewhat offhand normal conditions and far out west in our western regions, but the rest of the country, it's all about the cold air for Christmas week in a big time way. And even the Canadian is implying the same thing. So I'm just kind of showing you what the ensemble members are showing kind of this far out, and they're all congruent, saying, hey, we got some really cold air on the way. And with that renewed snowpack, here's your snow that between now and Christmas Day. So we're going to have more snow that's going to be coming across the upper regions, but more snow as the snow line could filter much further south. And who could actually see, a white Christmas? Here's the latest GFS ensemble member guidance. And here's the latest European ensemble member guidance as well. So you can actually see where that snow line could creep further and further south as we get closer into your Christmas time frame, and even the Canadian view as well. So all three ensembles on the snowpack would say, hey, we got some healthier snows, and a lot of you guys could actually see a white Christmas this year. And we'll have to fine tune this and how far south this is able to get as the colder air really entrenches in the operational guidances going forward with this true Arctic air mass that could unfold into Christmas week. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, catch the latest update where I protect you before and after storm.